Okay, so Jesse, I made you co-host. So there are a few people that are still coming in. Can you admit them while I'm talking? That would be super helpful. Great, thank you. All right, hello everybody. It is 7:02. Let me just make sure I have share sound on. Great, I'm gonna share the screen. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Scott Otterbein, can you tell me? I can't see you anymore.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first coaches fall season webinar with long distance running and walking. Thank you for joining us. I just want to say, some of you that have just joined, we are splitting up this presentation with my colleague Jesse Merkel with Three Rivers and with Scott Otterbein. I'm going to quickly get started because Scott Otterbein actually has another meeting at 7:30 and I'd like him to run over his slides. So with that, we'll do the LDRW part with Scott Otterbein first. I'll jump in with preseason reminders. Jesse will talk about the tracker. We have a lot of videos to share with you. I'll talk about the athlete performance training, fall season competition, and the new portal. At any time, any of you that have already seen the information about the tracker, athlete performance stations, and the new portal that we did last Monday with Michelle Boone and Bruce Bach, you do not have to stay on through that whole thing. Most importantly, you want to be listening to Scott Otterbein about the next few slides about LDRW, and then we will send out this recording and we will send out also the links to this web presentation. That way you can click on the actual recordings and you will be able to watch it again on your own time. Okay, and with that, I am going to turn it off to Scott Otterbein.
Thank you, Erica. So here is my email. You have Jesse's as well. We have a sport management team, as you can see down there, where we need recruiting some more folks. And they're in Central and Wilds, down in the Susquehanna, Northeast, and Greater Lehigh Valley, and then Ridge and Valley. Look at little combinations there of either athlete or athlete and volunteer. So this team covers both athletics, i.e. track, and long distance running and walking. So we meet several times a year to cover the two sports. Anybody who's interested, just send a note to Jesse and we will follow up with you. So thank you. And I see a lot of familiar names on the screens here. So welcome everyone back, plus all the new coaches, starting with long distance running and walking as the W in LDRW. To get you familiarized with resources, we have last year's meeting still posted, but on the Special Big Sports Offered page, where you can find all the sports and you drill down to each sport you want, our page has more specific information for athletics and long distance running and walking. The coaching resources on the lower right-hand corner have a lot of coaching guides, very extensive coaching guides and the current rules. Whenever you see the word athletics, remember that it is all encompassing. So that would include long distance running and walking, which is actually not recognized worldwide as a separate sport. It's buried within athletics. So the rules in athletics cover our program. And we have a Pennsylvania specific coaches guide. It's actually been updated to 2024. When you go to the link, we'll share. Here you go. This has much more information that you would ever want to learn in one night. It's something to refer to later on and give yourselves orientation. And it's part of the basis that I use for our virtual training. So when you go look at that, you can find information about warm-ups, training plans, skill progression, faults and fixes, many of the tips and techniques that we've learned as coaches ourselves and shared and incorporated into this guide. So let's move on. Something relatively new, or I'm not sure the publication date, but it's new to me. On the left-hand side is our, I'll call it our new warm-up guide and cool-down guide. These are about a dozen pages or so, very good pictographs, descriptions, and pictures of ways to have your athletes prepared for a training session at the beginning and at the end. What's different in this, you'll not see the word stretch. You might hear dynamic stretch, but stretching is now somewhat considered passed up and not as good as dynamic warm-ups. So move to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't put it. So I'll just quickly describe dynamic warm-ups is warm-ups that you move to rather than standing still. So the old school, we used to, literally touch our toes, lean down, touch your toes. That can actually damage a lot of fibers in the muscles. So what you may do instead is do what's called the high knees. You're running in place, keeping your knees in the air. Some side swings where you're standing against a stationary object with one hand and lifting your leg and moving it left and right, back and forth. So you are physically moving, and that gets your blood flow going as effectively, actually more effectively than in static stretching. So look at those guides when you have a chance. Let's move on. Just a reminder for racing form to look for throughout your season. These are also in the guide, so I'm not going to dwell on them too long, but it's as we were always told from youngsters on up, from moms and anybody else, stand up tall. You do that in walking, and don't lean forward, don't hunch over too far front or back. And lower left, very important. You have to have one foot on the ground at all times for our walkers. And it's, if you look at the diagram, the heel lands first and take off on the toe, heel to toe. That is very good walking form. So let's move on to the next pictograph. Our runners, on their hand, they often will have no feet on the ground as they run, sometimes one, but they'll be taking more of a forward lean than a walker, a little bit bend, and remind our newbies that this is not spring track. So don't try to sprint for miles and miles. It won't work unless you're an Olympian going to Paris. Remind our athletes, take shorter strides. Your knees won't get as banged up and won't be as stressed out. And it's better for injury prevention. And you're swinging your arms front, back, not side to side. Same thing, your shoulders and upper body are lined over your hips. So let's move on to the next one. What do we offer in long distance running and walking? It's a variety. So we have walking races at 3 distances, 1,500, 3,000, and 5,000 meters. Everything is in meters, but there's, for your reference, just to gauge distances, a mile, short of a mile, 1,500 and on up. For the runners, so it's the same 3 events. And then for our unified walk teams and our unified run teams, the same 3. The only thing we add for runners is the longer distance, doubled distance of the 10,000 meters, sometimes often called the 10K, 6.2 miles. All right, go ahead. You have to either be all running or all walking in your selection of events. So you can't like mix and match doing the 1,500 run and the 3K walk. Same thing for the unified partners. At an event, you can choose 3 events. We have some athletes picking 2. It's fine. The goal is to do 3. And with those events, it could be any of those distances we mentioned to a degree that all 4 of those distances are offered. Some of the sectionals we offer a 10K. I know we do at Eastern. Not sure if we do Central and Western 10Ks. That's something we'll have to come loop back to. And at the state's fall games at Villanova, it's spread over 3 days. So we had the opportunity for the runners to grab onto that 4th event, 10K. So that's the one option, the one occasion where a running athlete can do 4 events. So unified So this is unified long distance running and walking. Just as an aside, spring track or athletics, there is unified relays and relays only. We are still tinkering and playing with trying to get track to have additional unified activity, but right now it is only the relays. But here in the fall, you have 2-member unified teams. Either they're both runners or they're both walkers. They're out on the course with other individuals who are running as traditional runners or traditional walkers, and also other unified teams. So it's a large field of a mixed group of participants. Their entry time, which is used for divisioning, is your combined athlete and partner time. It's 10 minutes apiece. For the 1500, then their entry is 20 minutes. But during the race, the partners run or walk separately as fast as they can. Sometimes just by their performance, they are geared in a similar pace, and they will be near each other. The idea is, though, whatever is your best, off you go. Say hi at the end of the race when you meet up. You don't necessarily say side by side. When you cross the lines, your time and then your partner's time is recorded, added up, and compared against the total times of others who are unified in your division. And whoever in that division, the teams get gold and bronze, so on and so forth, or silver, I should say. So let's go on. What to wear? If the athletes are returning from prior years, remind them they probably should get new shoes, running shoes. And at the first practices, I always recommend the coaches do a walk around and look at the bottom of the feet. Sometimes you'd be shocked to see that there's sometimes shoes with holes in them. And it's not the athlete's fault. Sometimes they're just not aware that their shoes have worn out. Same thing for the socks. We got heel spelled H-E-L. Well. Heels, when you have a sore, you have to heel your foot. Shorts. So, if we have races in September, you're just going to be wearing a light sleeveless or t-shirt and shorts. You get into October, November, you might be wearing something with a jacket and or pants. That's fine. Not anything that's really flopping around. And comfort, of course, is the rule. And to the degree that teams are purchasing new, the wicking material is better than cotton. Cotton absorbs and keeps you wet and stays with you even in cold weather, which you don't want. T-shirts should be clean, of course, cover the entire torso, of course, and comfortable. Yep, you got it. And there's the link to branding and uniform guidelines. Let's move on. Our honest effort rule is 25% score. You will get a 25% rule. I'm sorry. You will get a participation ribbon if you hit 25% faster in your entry score. The way to avoid that is having practice times that are considered competition. So you have a setup and on 1 week you announce, hey, this next week's practice, we're going to pretend it's whatever race. And it's not practice, it's competition practice. You go your fastest, do your best, get worn out. And record those times and use those for your entry when you do your registration. And then be liberal in your use of the score update form, which is usually the Monday before a next weekend event. That allows you, if someone has improved since you took that measurement, let's say in August, and October, early October, you've got a sectional coming up, and the week before that athlete's really dropped their times. And you don't want them to get a 25%, participation ribbon. Send the update form in with their new time. And I'm saying a new time, which means that they're going faster. Same thing that you would do that for your unified teams as well. And use a competition setting when I think we meant to say entry times rather than gating. Don't worry about that. You get the point. Okay, next one. So the air quality, there's separate email out there, and I believe air quality index limit, correct me if I'm wrong, is 150,
151.
151. There you go. Um, there
I'll
is
be
that.
talking about it on the next couple of slides as
Okay,
well. So
thank
you don't
you.
have to worry about that.
In addition to air quality, also we always look, when I say we, I'm talking about my team here in Montgomery, at the temperature humidity index as well. The feels like temperatures. Once they get over 100, sometimes if it's our first or second practice, people are not ready for that. Just be, you still have practice perhaps, but make it a lighter version of your practice until you have a couple in. People have gotten used to the heat. I've also reminded them now in June and July to get out before in the preseason a couple times a week in the hot weather, just to get your body acclimated to it. And bodies will acclimate to the heat over a couple of weeks. Have your water, have water available. Check out the site so there's no nails, trash, you name it, glass on the paths. Reminders for sunscreen, hats, sunglasses. You can get UV glare in your retina of your eye, so you want to wear sunglasses. And find out where your safety zone is in case there's thunder or lightning. Make sure everyone's aware and you have a system to alert them. And if you see it or you hear it, you stop, seek shelter for 30 minutes every time you hear thunder or see lightning. At our site, we have whistles. So because people are quarter to mile to half a mile away from where the cars are. And we remind everyone, beginning of season practices, if you hear 3 whistle blasts, it probably means you should come back. Don't think about it, just come back. And don't stand out in the field or under a tree. Get back to where the cars are in our case. Another important tip would be variety. So if you're running at a sectional race where half of it is concrete, half of it is grass, or Villanova, it's like 2/3 concrete and some bricks, pavers, and grass. People should not consistently practice on only one surface, particularly the walkers. They can get unsteady if they're suddenly thrown onto grass. So if you're in the Eastern, many of the 3K and 5K is mostly grass and hilly at DeSales University. And I believe Juniata has similar hilly and twisting sections where there's a couple trail turns. So just don't keep walking in circles on a sidewalk. All right, go ahead. And if you go to your portal account, I believe you can find these in the portal. It might not be on the state website yet, but they're in the portal. I know because I signed myself up as the trainer. I'm doing 2 virtual sessions Saturday, August 3rd, 9 to 11:30, Monday night, August 19th, 6:30 to 8:30. Sign up and we'll get much more detail of what we're trying to breeze through here right now. That will get you certified. All right, Erica.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Scott. That was great information. And we are 10 minutes ahead of schedule, so thank you.
Sure. I'm going to jump off. I'm doing a briefing with I have a lot of new coaches on my team, so we're doing a meeting.
Okay. We greatly appreciate you joining us and helping us out tonight, Scott.
All right, I'll hang in for about 5 more minutes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so as I told everybody at the beginning, I will be talking briefly about the preseason reminders. So if you have already seen all of this, and you don't want to listen to everything that you heard about last Monday at our coaches call, you're more than welcome to, just hang out and listen to all of it. Or if you want to just go ahead and end, since we've already talked about the sporting part of LDRW, you can go ahead and log off, and then we will send the recording and the slides tomorrow for you to go through and look at your own time. As you know, signups for athletes are due today, July 15th. After this deadline, if anybody is interested in signing up, you must contact your regional sport director. This season officially begins on August 9th. And then this is a most important date. The season eligibility and age group exemption is on August 23rd. So please be mindful of August 23rd is your deadline. Preseason sport prep. These are, I'm not going to click on it because we've got a lot to show with you tonight with a lot of video, but this you will find on our website. It'll go through and you'll click on Central. It'll give you the fall season calendar, all the different dates, everything that you need to know for each region that you have here. Again, eligibility deadline is August 23rd. And as Scott started to talk about air quality, I just want to let you know that the unhealthy air zone is 151 or above. This means that no outside activities should occur. Please, please watch the air quality. I know today here in State College, Clearfield area, we are having a parade and our SOPA athletes are on a float, and we were very concerned about the air quality because we did get a notice about that. So anybody who wants to monitor, must monitor the air quality levels, please click on this airnow.gov, and that will give you all the information that you need to know about your region. And then you'll have a quality guide as well that you can use as a reference to download. Okay, so athlete requirements. Athletes' medical registration forms are valid for 3 years. And then for Class A requirements, background results are valid for 5 years. And all 3 general orientation, protective behaviors, and concussion training are all valid for 3 years. General orientation, my bad, is valid for life. All right, these are our fall qualifiers. All athletes must attend their respective sectional in order to be considered for Fall Festival. We will have game advancement slots per section, dependent on the total number of slots at Fall Fest and the percentage of interests who are advancing from each sectional. We will share this all out on September 20th, who will be advancing. Allocations are shared with you in a weekly email. The allocations should be sent out probably by the end of this week. And you'll also find the allocations on our SOPA webpage as well. Be prepared for the season. You got to make sure everybody is eligible. Make sure you have the understanding of the air quality and the heat risk. Keep a pulse on the illness and the outbreaks within your community. Make sure athletes are not training if they're sick, and make sure they create healthy habits and practices for good hygiene. And please know your emergency action plan and evacuation routes for all of your training programs. And update yourself on the sports rules and work with your assistant coaches and coaches to have a backup plan if you have any issues during your workouts. Okay, athletes as coaches. We just had a preseason webinar with our colleagues Jennifer Trest and Jordan Schubert, and that was done last week. When you get these slides, you can click on this link and you'll be able to see the webinar that they had last week about how you can be applied to be an athlete as a coach. You must make sure any interested athlete fills out this request form. So we'll be able to click on this and fill out the request form. It will be approved by your head coach, and then it will be interviewed by your regional sport director, and they will determine who is appropriate to attend a training school to be a coach. If you have any questions, you can reach out to our colleague Jordan, and he will be able to help you with any of the answers. Coaching requirements. This is very important. Coaching requirements. You must, for team sports, at least have 1 certified coach per team. Now, for individual sports and individual skills teams, you must have 1 certified coach per 25 athletes. For an example, if you have 26 athletes, you would need 2 certified coaches. Okay, so I am now going to hand it off to my colleague, Jessie, and she is going to be sharing with you. And Jessie, I'll go ahead and click on the link. So we are going to do a short video of Michelle Boone talking about the tracker. And it is 15 minutes long or 19 minutes long, but we will stop it when you get a good detailed of this new tracker. Jessie?
Thanks, Erica. I won't say much before the video. We can just summarize a little at the end. But as Erica said before, we did go over this last week. So if you are caught up on the trackers, feel free to jump off. But coaches, it would be good to stay on so you get a good handle of this. The great part about these trackers, they're updated, newly improved. You will be able to do everything for the entire season on this tracker. Registration, marking your events, etc. And Michelle will go over that in the video, but we'll summarize a little more at the end. Go ahead, Erica.
I'm trying to click on it.
All right, awesome. So for those of you who are
Jesse, can you
also
hear it?
coaching within your program, hopefully you have received your tracker at this point in time. If not, you can follow up with your RSD, but they should surely be coming soon if you don't have them in hand yet. We have made quite a few updates to these this year. So just feel like it's important to take a little bit of time and dive in. We will spend a little bit more time on each of the preseason coach webinars for each specific sport. Just really important to make sure that the coaches have a good understanding of what these are and what information we're collecting via them this year and kind of how we're managing differently. So these are really now, we've tried to make them the one place where you're managing everything that has to do with your team. You will manage your attendance, your eligibility, and all of your event registration. So your LOIs, so there are no longer kind of LOI forms. There are no longer Google registration forms. The only additional forms that we will have for competitions are for volunteers that are kind of above and beyond those that are listed on your tracker. So maybe some group home one-on-ones or things like that for an event like Fall Fest, and then housing. So those are the only additional forms that will get sent out kind of closer to events that we will need an additional form to populate. Everything else is going to be managed. So like I said, we'll dive into this a little bit. Just super important, and we utilized the trackers last year too, so same thing applies. But the only way someone could get on your tracker is by filling out the sign up form. So as Bruce talked about, right, so right now the fall sign up period is open. It actually closes July 15th. So again, it's really important. Hopefully you have these in hand, your coaches have them in hand, they're able to review them, and if people are glaringly missing, they're reaching out to those individuals, sharing the sign up form links, and getting them registered through the sign up form. Post July 15th, those sign up forms will be removed from the website. If anyone is needing to sign up and kind of get populated on the tracker at that point in time, you'll need to directly contact your regional sport director in order to make that happen. So again, we've extended the deadline a month, right? Just really trying to capture as many people as possible in advance of the season. So this is kind of the breakdown. Again, the tabs look a little bit different as well. So there's an instruction tab that kind of stays the same. A athlete volunteer tab. So this pulls, again, all of those signups. This is the tab where you will see all of your contact information, check eligibility, and then also where we will complete information on LOI and attendance. There is a sport specific roster. That is really how you will manage your team, your sport specific information, assigning people roles for events and entering all of your sport specific registration data for events. And then the rating form, which we utilize for the team sports. So you can go next slide. And again, we'll dive in just a little bit deeper to each of those. So this is the instruction tab. We have moved over kind of this top piece that is really that kind of training site data. Important that the head coach is populating those green cells. In some cases, they may be populated when they got it, but if they're not, we want them to make sure they're going in and populating it. Just so if I'm pulling up one of these forms and I'm trying to look at, okay, who's the Adams bocce coach, I can very easily go in here and see, okay, that I know who that is now. I can go and contact that individual. The gray portion there will auto-populate based on data entered into the sign-up form, right? So it'll populate the number of athletes, number of unified partners, number of general volunteers, number of head coaches, assistant coaches. And then it'll give you that, does this site meet the 4-to-1 ratio based on the individuals that have signed up? So again, as we get the season started, that's an important place to look, right? It's important to make sure that we are managing and effectively operating within those ratios. The rest of this is just instruction. So it just kind of dives in and gives you a little bit more detail as to what is included on each of the tab and kind of what you're expected to do on each of the tabs. So you can go to the next slide. So this is that athlete volunteer tab that we talked about. So this is kind of what it looks like, just taking a snapshot across. Those cells A through H, all the gray, the light blue, and then the gray, all that stuff will be auto-populated based on the sign up form. So A through H is all information that we collect off of the sign up forms. Again, it'll all just kind of auto populate in here. The gray cells are all locked cells. So it is not information that you or your coaches can get in there and manipulate data. Again, that'll come directly from what was entered on the sign up forms. If you see something is wrong or just incorrect, just again, please reach out to your regional sport director. They'll be able to help make those corrections for you. The eligibility column, so I and J, so our regional administrative managers are working on pulling eligibility for all of those individuals as they sign up. And again, you will just see that kind of automatically populated onto this field. The yellow is LOI. The green piece there is just interest in attending USA games in your particular sport. And then the light blue down the bottom, or the kind of the dark blue, light blue, is attendance, and we'll get into each of these. We've locked kind of A, B, and C on here. So as you continue to scroll over, you'll always be able to see kind of that participant's first and last name as you're working your way through the form. Go to, so also I do want to note, just sorting these forms. I know that's been a bit of a pain point in the past. It unfortunately, if we keep this cells locked, there's no ability for anyone without the backend access to be able to sort those cells. So what we've asked the RSCs to do at this point from kind of July 15th on through the end of August is on a weekly basis, they will go in, well, July 15th, they'll sort. And then hopefully there's not a whole lot of people coming into there, but if there is, they'll go in and kind of resort. So the individuals will be sorted by participant type. So you'll have all of your athletes, all of your assistant coaches, head coaches, kind of chunked together, and then alpha by name. I guess if you prefer kind of first name or last name, you can let them know. But so they'll be sorting those things for you. And again, if there's something specific that you like or you would like to see just how you want to manage differently, you can just let them know and they can go in and give you that specific view. All right. On the next slide. So this is kind of what the eligibility will look like. So as you can see, we try to color code things to make it a little bit easier. Anyone that's eligible will pop up in green. The two that you really need to look out for are the reds, are individuals that are not eligible. So they are missing something. It will say there in the column what they're missing. So this first person is missing a protected behavior. The second person is missing a medical, but it'll outline exactly what it is that person is missing. The expiring ones are individuals that have something, but they're currently up to date, but it will expire at some point throughout the fall season. So it's just something to be on alert of. Make sure you're kind of working with those individuals to make sure that those things get updated prior to hitting those dates. And then the orange is kind of a new one we've added this year. We really, on the trackers and within your signups, we want to capture everyone who's regularly in attendance at your training site. And understand that you may have some individuals that are coming and assisting, but aren't necessarily Class A volunteers. We want those people to sign up, right? They'll sign up, they'll be a general volunteer. So this is just letting you know that those individuals are not able to act within your 1-to-4 ratio. So if for some reason you've got, you're short coaches that night, we can't just plug these people in that don't have all of their Class A clearances. If they do have their Class A clearances, we can change them, right? And we can make them a Class A and they'll show up as green in here. But these should be individuals coming in that don't have their Class A clearances. They have just done the Class B information. So that's something new that we've kind of added within here this year. So, I mean, just again, eligibility is super important, right? It is a coach's responsibility to make sure that individuals that are not eligible are not attending trainings. Athletes should not be in attendance. Coaches should absolutely not be within a 4-to-1 ratio. I mean, if you've got plenty of 4-to-1s and that coach is attending on kind of a class B, you're not relying on them to be a class A, that's okay. But again, really responsibility of the head coach or whoever that lead at that training site is to make sure that we're always maintaining that 4-to-1 ratio and that the individuals there have the clearances, the appropriate clearances they need to be there. It just becomes a liability issue if not. Again, as a reminder, so the August 23rd is kind of that key date this year for seasonal eligibility, right? So anyone after August 23rd that is red and has not updated their information will be considered a scratch unless we hear from you, right? Unless we hear to say, hey, this person's working to get in their medical, or hey, they've got a doctor's appointment scheduled for August 30th. They're not coming to practice the next week until they get it. That's fine. Just again, communication is key. Make sure you're talking to your regional sport director. We will make sure those people don't get scratched off your rosters. But anyone that is still red on August 23rd that we've not had communications with you with will get scratched off of these rosters and off of these trackers. So I think that's kind of the nutshell in eligibility, which I hope that most of you are very familiar with already. Just reiterating. You know, the next one. So LOIs. So we have moved kind of the LOI process onto the trackers. Initial LOIs are out. We'll talk about our initial allocations will be going out for the fall here shortly. We'll talk about that in a second. So you'll get those, right? A coach will kind of know what that is. You know, we've been given 10 initial allocations, but I really have 15 people that I want to go. So I'm going to go down my list and I'm going to put an X in this column for all those 15 athletes that I want to attend sectionals this year, right? So given the past LOI process, that is me saying I'm accepting my 10 and I'm asking for an additional 5, right? But so all we're asking the coaches to do is go in on here and mark who wants to go to sectionals from both an athlete and a volunteer perspective. So I think that's pretty good there. And then column N is just that interest in USA games. So again, just want coaches to be having that conversation with individuals at practices. You know, is it something they're interested in doing? Is it something that a coach feels that that athlete is appropriate for? So for all those individuals that want to be marked yes, we should just be changing this drop down from a blank to a yes. There also is a no in that drop down, not necessary for you to hit no. We will only kind of consider the ones that have yeses. So if people are interested, it's very important that you go in there and mark them with an S, with a yes. It will not be assumed if there's nothing in that column. All right, and go to the next slide. And then the attendance piece of here. So tracking, I think it's just important to note. So tracking attendance is something that's required. Tracking attendance is not required within this document. I think we had some people over the course of the past year that have liked it and have utilized it and have been successful with it. We have others that it has just been a struggle. So you can continue to track manually. We've got a resource that's available on the sports offered page that you can use for just tracking attendance manually. You can always just print out the tracker so you've got it and it kind of goes across and you can just keep that in your folders and take that to practice. So either way, I think whatever a coach is comfortable with, they're able to do. What will be required in here is at the end of each season, the head coach needs to come into the document into column O there and click yes or no that this athlete has trained for 8 weeks. So this kind of goes, this is just training numbers, right? So it goes back to kind of the way we used to do it, where we would just ask at the end of the season for a coach to submit training numbers. So just kind of that, going back to that type of a verification. People should be honest, right? I mean, I hope that our coaches are being honest and we're not just going through and marking everybody as a yes, we've attended 8 weeks of training. Again, keeping attendance is important, whether you do it in here or they're just doing it manually or some other way. But at the end of the season, we will ask the head coaches to come back in here and track that. All right, you can go to the next one. Okay, so the next tab is our sport tab. So this is typically called like bocce roster or whatever the sport is roster is kind of what the tab is named. This is in a nutshell what it looks like. So again, these first columns A through F are being pulled over automatically from the sign up forms. A through C are again locked. So as you scroll over, those columns stay. And then, so the event roster is, okay, so after you've done your LOI, now you've been given final allocation. So you've been told, you asked for, you were initially given 10, you asked for 15, you got 13, right? So your final allocation is 13. You now are going to go in here and mark which 13 individuals are going to attend that event, right? That's kind of where you'll do this. And we'll get to that a little bit more on the next page. And then event registration is where you will essentially put in all of the sport specific information for those individuals. So you just want to go to the next slide, Erica. So this is specific to the event commitment. So the drop down here is what role is that individual playing at that specific event, right? So this is sectional, Fall Fest, you know, so what we'll have to go through and mark, okay, if you've got 50 athletes coming to Fall Fest, we need to go through and we need to mark those are all athletes coming to Fall Fest. These are head coaches coming to Fall Fest. These are assistant coaches coming to Fall Fest. As long as we've got, like I said, it's one of the reasons I think it's important to sort these by participant type. As long as you've got all those athletes grouped together, you can just go and do kind of a quick, you mark the first person as an athlete, you take this kind of little blue circle and you can just like right click, hold down, and then you can pull it and it'll populate like everyone as an athlete, right? And then if you have some people that aren't going within there, maybe you can just go back and you can just hit delete on those columns. But that's an easy way, just a little trick to populate a large group of people all at once, like with that role. And that's a tool, that's a tip. I mean, you can use anywhere that there's a drop down column. You can go, the next slide is just the sport specific registration. So this is an example of bocce. So we have some instructions up here.
Okay, so Jesse, I'm going to stop here since we are getting short of time. I'm going to go to the sport specific for LDRW track and field slide, and then you can talk to that slide, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Here you go, Jess.
All right, so the sport specific slide for LDR, this is essentially where you're going to mark which events everyone is doing, whether they're doing one event, 3 events, all 4 at Fall Fest. Just make sure you mark them. And then where it says event 1 time, it's pretty straightforward. Event 1 is the 1500 meter run. The time is 9 minutes. So it's pretty straightforward there. Make sure you're paying attention up in that green to the instructions of how times need to be entered. We always have problems with this and it takes a while to correct. Make sure it's 2 digits, period, 2 digits, period, 2 digits. Makes it a lot easier on us when we're uploading into our games management system. So, and then there's just an extra column there on the side. As you can see, you can mark certified coaches in the sport as well. Again, all pretty self-explanatory. Just mark if they're traditional or unified. Maybe they're an alternate. You don't necessarily have to mark not competing. It could be helpful, I guess. But basically, if it's blank, me as an RSD, I'm going to assume they're not competing. So if they don't have a time in there, I'm not going to enter them into the into our division. So just make sure everyone who is competing has a time and event, and everyone is marked there. Let's see, what else do we have there?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Can you go back one?
Mm-hmm.
I also just want to encourage you that you see that we put deadlines on there. I want to encourage you to really pay attention to those because, for example, let's look at Central Fall Sectional. The registration deadline is September 5th. If you go in there after that date and make a change, we're not going to know. We don't get notified about it. We ask that you don't make a change. If you do, it will be on the change update form. But if you do make a change in this tracker, you have to let us know. Otherwise, we won't know the change has been made. And if you try to pull fast one and say, I entered the time, we can see the version history and that you changed it on September 6th. So just make sure you pay attention to that. We'll work with you if you have changes or updates, but those are there for your convenience as well.
Thank you, Jess.
Mm-hmm. This is for our team sports like soccer, flag football, what have you. It's the same rating form as always. It's just its own tab. You can go in there. This is where we will pull all of the rating forms. You won't have to send it separately. So it just makes it easy on you to have it in there. And those forms, sorry, go ahead, Erica.
I do want to interject and say that we had a lot of these team rating forms that this top part in the yellow was not filled out. So we really request that you fill this all out. And then Jesse, I don't know if you're going to talk about this new area right here with the athlete's name and jersey numbers. That's new as well.
Yeah, it just makes it a little easier for us because I mean, right now you're just entering initials. And so sometimes it just makes it easier, especially when we're looking at age group exemptions and putting teams together, just to have everything nice and clear there. And it will help us set up the like score sheets or something that we need. So it has all the information. And if I'm correct, which I think I am, this is only on the trackers that have team sports. So LDRW, this won't be on the form, but just if any of you coach another sport that's a team sport, this is what that is.
Correct.
Okay, roster tab, we went through all that. That's just an overview of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jesse. Thanks for all that little extra information. I just figured we need to take advantage of the time and take advantage of everybody's time. So I am going to actually show the athlete performance training video that our colleague Charlotte Stein put together for you. And then we'll have a little bit more, like maybe 5 more slides, and then we'll be done and we can have question and answers. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. We could hear the first video, but we can't hear this video. So we're going to make that one short and we are going to skip that. But we will be able to talk to you about athlete performance station trainings on our website. And you can also click on this link to see Charlotte's quick video. I don't know why that happened because I did share this sound. But let me tell you about fall season competitions. As you know, we're regionalized. So everybody needs to help us here. We really need your support in giving us your competition calendar. This way we'll be able to have regional competitions set up around if you're going to do a certain track event or you're going to do a softball event. Let Jessie know for Three Rivers that you're planning on something so that she can plan her events around your calendar as well. So as you can see here, we have the SOPA competition calendar submission form. If you have an event happening that you're planning, please submit this to us so that we all can be prepared for our regional events. Fall sectionals, as everybody knows, the first sectional will be Juniata with Central Fall Sectional, September 22nd. Western will come next at September 29th at Slippery Rock, and Eastern DeSales, October 6th. Fall Fest, everybody knows, is November 1st through the 3rd. I'm not going to tell you anything about these dates because you all know them, but most importantly, September 6th, you're going to get the event information about Fall Festival. Most importantly, we this year are in qualifying time. So you will receive for USA Games, which is going to be in Minnesota this year, you'll receive the quota timeline in mid-August. And then we will make sure that we share the qualified individuals, their first place quota sport, with our RSDs and team leaders for their review. These athletes will be emailed and asked questions pre-selection questionnaires, and they will be entered in the selection process. So, and we're also looking for additional SOPA staff and volunteers and athletes to help with roles in the PA management team system. So these opportunities will be shared in August as well in our weekly email updates. We're looking for medical staff and coaches. The applications will go out between September 1st and October 1st. And this is our new portal. If anybody hasn't seen our new portal, this is what it's going to look like on the homepage. I will quickly try and share this, but I don't know why my video wasn't working last time, but I will see if this works. If not, you can click.
So hopefully everyone on this call has claimed their profile and is in the new portal at this point in time. Erica, you can go to the next slide. This, as with all transitions like this, I think it takes some time, and it'll take some time to make sure that we've got everybody in here and kind of functioning, learning how to navigate through. So again, we will be focusing with a little bit with you all here tonight, and then with our coaches, just making sure that all of our volunteers have a little bit of insight and hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable navigating through this new portal. As I've said, so step one is really getting people to claim their profiles. I think you all know by this point in time, Jackie and Chelsea have been talking about it for quite a while, but this will be our new database system. It really will be a new management system. There are a lot of bells and whistles. There are a lot of things. Everything that we just talked about in the tracker, we hope to be doing in the portal. Fingers crossed this time next year, maybe 18 months from now, but everything will start to be managed from a coach perspective, a team perspective, an athlete perspective within this portal. So it's good. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I think a lot of this stuff will get much easier. It's being built out. This is a brand new system. It's been a collaboration between Special Olympics International, Microsoft, and then 6 different state programs. So clearly Pennsylvania being one of them, that has really been a leader in this whole entire process, which is great because we get to help build and design it, right? So we get to make sure that it's got some of the functionalities that we want and need, which is why we felt like it was really important to come in on the front end. So this is what the home screen looks like. If you can just go back real quick, if someone is landing here that is a returning volunteer, it's just really important that we're not creating new accounts. All of their data, if they were in visas previously, has been transferred over to the portal. So they should be claiming their profile and kind of going in through that direction. So go ahead, you can go to the next page. Again, hopefully most of you have went through this at this point in time. If you have not, all of the claim your profile emails went out in April, May timeframe. They went out kind of in a scattered over a few different weeks. They came from a do not reply email address. So a lot of them are getting caught up in spam filters or trash email. So if you're looking for yours, if you've got coaches that are looking for theirs, you may just, if you give them this like portals at Special Olympics PA, typically you can go to a search within your email and hopefully that'll pop up. They will be resending all of these emails at some point, maybe later this month or into August. When they resend them, they will come from a Special Olympics. So it'll say Special Olympics. And then the portals at specialolympicspa.com. So hopefully better than the do not reply. I mean, that was one of the pieces of feedback that we got in that initial push out. If you need to claim your profile and you can't find that email, you can email this here. It's kind of our new just support email. So it's portalsupport@specialolympicspa.org. You can email that. They will get you the information that you need to go in and claim your profile. This document here, if you want to pull it up, Erica, you can. I'm not going to go through it page by page. It's probably 9 or 10 pages long, but one of our very awesome volunteers from Summer Games put this together to kind of help her volunteers that were coming to her venue step through the process. If it won't open, it's not a big deal. It's just a PDF and it walks you through step by step how to claim your profile. So you'll have the link to this as we send out the PDF and the recording. Again, super useful tool that you can share with your people as well, just with, how to go in and step by step claim your profile. You can go to the next one. So just a little bit of navigating through the portal. So I think as you get in and kind of part of claiming your profile is updating your contact information. So just really important to make sure that we've got the most update email, the most update cell phone number. For those of you that were at summer games, right, we're kind of utilizing text blasts and things like that to communicate for what's happening at events. We're getting all those cell phone numbers through the information that's here in the database. So it's just important that this stuff is correct. So we're able to properly communicate with you or reach you as needed. And then some of the things you'll see as you kind of get to your home screen, this is really what I would call kind of your home screen, your volunteer zone within the portal. You'll see these different options. So review your checklist, sign up for an event, or do more with Special Olympics. So we'll get into kind of what's under each of those that is important for coaches to know. You can go to the next one, Erica. So on your checklist is everything that you will need based on the role that you have. So all of the information that all the certifications, all of the background stuff that you had in visas should have transferred over here. If you're in here, you're looking at it and something's not right, or maybe something's missing, again, just contact that portal support. We'll work with you. We'll try to get those things fixed. But everything that all the certifications you have, kind of all the trainings that you've taken should pop up here on your checklist. And you'll see things are either completed or if things are out of date. So like my concussion awareness training is out of date. That is now marked as incomplete, something that I need to go in and do. Things that are kind of upcoming to expire, it'll actually say in there, will expire in 60 days, will expire in 30 days. So if you're kind of coming in here on a regular basis, you should be able to see those things. You will also, similar to like we've done in visas, you will get some notifications at those key time points when things are due to expire, letting you know that you'll just need to go in and re-up them. But all the background clearances, so you'll see here, PA disclosure statement, all of you, I didn't copy everything, but background check, right? So all of your PA child abuse clearances, all that stuff is kind of managed in here. You'll see it as completed. All your training. So this is where you come to take general orientation, protective behaviors, concussion training. You just come here. Everything will link directly to those trainings through here. It'll automatically update that you've completed it once you have completed it. So it's really nice trying to just automate a lot of those processes. So you're not waiting on someone, us on the back end to manually update some of those things for you. This is also where you will now see practicum hours and continuing education. So you see a practicum hours in here. Yours will look a little bit different. It'll have practicum hours kind of bocce, practicum hours soccer per sport. But and I've got another slide on that. I'll show you what that looks like. But just trying to make the process easier, right? Trying to kind of get all these things in one place, so it's easier for our volunteers to manage. Again, same with continuing education, which we'll get to here in a second. So you can go to the next one. That is what your checklist looks like. That do more with Special Olympics button. So this is where you go to say, what do I want to be in Special Olympics Pennsylvania, right? So if you are not already a coach and you want to be a coach, so if you're not already a coach, if I'm someone new coming into the portal, the only thing I'm going to have on my checklist is the Class B volunteer. Once I would come in here and I would say, okay, and so under coach, the only role that's there is assistant coach. That may change in the future, but this really captures all coaches, right? So if you're a head coach, if you're assistant coach, it doesn't matter. So just so you guys know that, it kind of covers just anyone who's filling a coaching role. If I would go in and click that button, which maybe I have on the next screen, but and then I say like, I want to apply for this assistant coach position. My checklist will then update with all the Class A certifications that I need to be a coach, right? So you're not going to see those things on your checklist until you say, I want to fill that role. So that's where you do that. You do that kind of in this do more with Special Olympics. So you'll see the ones that I think we will really use. I've starred here. So it's the coach and then the team support. So the team support are just chaperones. So anyone who is helping, at a competition or at an overnight event. Local program support. So all of our team leaders, managers, our sport team leaders, that is kind of local program support. So if you're filling a role like that, and then unified partners. Under kind of general and event would be some of the roles that are specific to events. So, right, you can be kind of a group lead for a corporate group at coming to summer games, right? So there are some different roles that you'll see listed within there under athletes, and the health and fitness are mentorships and things like that. So different things in there, but I think the ones we would need to focus on from a competition perspective are that coach and the team support. Okay, I think that one's good. You can go to the next one. So signing up for an event. So super important. This is where we will now sign up for coach training schools. So this is also where you will sign up to be a day of volunteer at summer games or at a fall sectional, right? So as we're directing all of our Class B volunteers, they are also starting portal accounts. They are also coming in here. That is how they will sign up for an event. So, as you start to kind of direct some people in that direction, important for you to know that as well. But this is where we will do coach training school registration. So clearly we'll have a lot of those opening up here for the fall season. As you'll see just down below where the 2 yellow stars are. So if you click on sign up for an event, you will see right there sports training school registration. It is super important. So you see kind of in my blue arrow pointing to this kind of peachy box here. So you have to complete the Class B liability on your My Checklist before you'll even be able to see anything. So everyone coming in needs to complete that Class B liability, I think it's called maybe, but on your My Checklist. And again, you'll see it as something that's incomplete. So it'll for sure stand out. But that may be one of the reasons, if you have people saying, I don't see this for whatever reason, that may be one of the reasons they're not seeing it. So just cue them, go back, make sure they fill that out. And again, if you continue to have any struggles, you can just email that portal support. Just important to know all of our track 2. So any experienced coaches, and track 2 is really just for people coming in with a lot of experience in a particular sport. So you have coached that sport at high school, college level, officiated that sport. We like to see kind of an in-depth, not just, I played basketball when I grew up, but some in-depth participation in a specific sport in order to go track 2. But those will still be managed through that track 2 application link. We're not yet managing them through the portal. So that's the one thing just important to note that'll continue to happen outside of the portal. If you go to the next slide, it'll just show you what it looks like once you click on the sports training schools. So these are a list of the sports training schools that are currently up there. They're up there. People can get in. It looks like hopefully we've got maybe some people registering for some of those things. But so we've got LDR virtual trainings and Bocce virtual trainings up and ready to go for this fall season. Once you click on that, this is what it looks like. So it just gives you kind of the start date, the end date, a little bit of a description. For all these virtual ones, it really just says you'll be provided with a link a few days prior to the training. And you just click sign up, and then you can go to the next slide. Just super important too that everyone is actually registering for training schools. Once a training school happens, we'll get attendance. We'll go in, we just click that people were there, and then it will automatically populate those that they are pending in that sport within their checklist. It'll automatically populate their practicum hours. But if an individual has not signed up via the portal, none of that stuff will happen. And it's going to take a lot longer for us to get all that stuff active within their portal account. So please, 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 make sure people are just going in here and getting registered for the training schools. So you'll see here, once you register for something, so I registered for one of the LDR training schools. Once you're back on that home screen, kind of your volunteer zone, it'll pop up right there, anything that you've registered for. So that is the training that I registered for. If I was also registered to volunteer at an event, it would pop up there. So I think that's really nice that it just kind of is a good reminder of the things that you have signed up for. And then this was just, sorry, I guess I should have done that one first, but on the bottom there with the great, you signed up. So once you actually hit sign up for one of those things, it verifies that you've signed up. You can click kind of the add to your calendar. It gives you the option to add to a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar. We know that the start dates in there are a little wonky. We're just going to change it to January 1 to December 31 to hopefully not throw anybody off. But since we've managed it the way that we have and just calling this like a sports training school registration, we can't give that a specific date. So like for summer games, it would say the specific job and the specific dates that the job is running. So understand that's a little wonky. We'll just make sure people understand. But it says right there the LDR training I signed up for is on August 19th at 6:30. So and when you add to your calendar, that is also what it will get added as. Okay, I think you can go to the next one. So practicum hours. So again, we have tried to significantly simplify this process for individuals. This will be the new way to submit practicum hours. You just go to your checklist again after you have taken a training. You will see this appear on your checklist. Once you've completed those 10 hours, this talks to you about how those hours can be calculated. So up to 5 of those hours can be obtained prior to your training. 5 of the hours need to be obtained after you've taken the training. So if you took a training yesterday and you're going in and you're saying yes to your practicum hours form today, that's probably going to raise a red flag, right? Like you need to get 5 hours of your practicum training after you take your training. So just once you've completed those 10 hours, you come in here, you just kind of, we ask, you're reading through this form and then you just click that box that says I've read and agree with the practicum hours, and then you hit renew and your practicum hour submission is done. So again, have just tried to simplify this process for our coaches. And I think that's it for the portal. Again, there are definitely a lot of other things. We're just trying to scratch the surface here on, what we feel like is important for coaches to know.
Okay, I know we went over by 7 minutes, but I did want you to see some of that portal information and some of the tracker videos that we recorded from our last Monday's video webinar. So I know Jesse has been helping me with the chat questions. I am going to stop sharing so that I can see all your beautiful faces. And if we have any questions, Jesse and I will be able to help you with any questions. If we don't have the answers, we will finally get the answers for you and we will respond back the next day, tomorrow. But tomorrow I will be sending out the webinar video from tonight and also the slides so that you'll be able to click on those videos and you can see those videos again. If you caught something and said, oh, I want to re-see that, learn more about it, you can go ahead and do that on your own time. Are there any other questions? Thank you for all of your time tonight with LDRW. We are really trying to make this as informative as possible. That's why we started with Scott Otterbein, the sport director for long distance running and walking and athletics, so that you guys could get all the information from Scott first and then all of our housekeeping after that. I'll wait a few more minutes, couple minutes. I don't see any hands up. Jesse's good with the chat and answers right there. Oh my goodness, it's 8:09. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us for our first preseason coaches webinar with LDRW. We look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Erica.
Thank you, Jesse.